So this is really a setup that keeps on giving us points of learning. So this is that one where we have the two-step 15-minute retracement and then a continuation, ostensibly with this being the first leg after we bounce off a order block. But first of all, I was thinking about how these influencers, they show up with some of the most cherry-picked, easy and clear examples. And I realized that yes, it's cherry-picked, but it's only because they waited for this particular setup. So for example, is this a A+ setup? Well, so we can lighten the load of our crew resource management if we use our judgment to anticipate to trade only A+ setups. We'd have to then first know what an A+ looks like, and then we have to know that sometimes the A+ setups do not materialize. And we can also ask, what would we need to see in order for this setup to continue to be an A+? So if we don't see what we like to see, in other words, if we don't get the A+ continuing to go each step of the way, we don't have to trade it. So here is the OTE and a fair value gap and an order block, and we've did a BOS and we came back into the zone. Only now do we go to the lower time frame to look for a reversal, because the lower time frame has been a downtrend, this leg here, and it'll reverse. So this is the ideal setup. Same thing here. We have a BOS. Legitimately, we have the buyers in control on the 15-minute chart. We have a FVG, we have an order block, we have the OTE right here. And so this coming in, it could come in like this, it could come in like this with the turtle soup even, which as long as we don't close below here with acceptance, it's still considered okay, because we go to the lower time frame, whether that be a 5-minute, 3-minute, 2-minute, 1-minute. We see this type of BOS right here, clearly in a downtrend. And then in this example, we make this kind of pattern and we don't get the choke until here. So that's a choke right there. And then now we have change of character, and we wait for a order block or some sort of imbalance. And so this is the ideal entry. We may not always get this. As you can see here, we actually did not get it, because this reversal is not easy. It's not the clear-cut reversal here where we have this BOS and this choke. Here, it would have been very difficult to pick a reversal pattern on the 1 minute. So we don't have it here, but do we have it here? Well, again, it's a little bit tough. We do have this sim, but there's no real imbalance here. That's easy to pick out. Now, so this is the step 2 of the 2-step. Now, on the 5-minute, do we have anything? So this is our leg up, this one, and we make a symmetry. So that might be a clue. We make a symmetry and we don't quite touch the order block here. And it's not quite OTE either. But on the 5-minute, at least we have this order block here. And on the 1 minute, we actually do have this symmetry interestingly enough, that held for this leg being the continuation of the 15-minute uptrend, as we talked about multiple times in the previous two parts. This is part 3. And then we have this two-step symmetry retracement. And I'm proposing that this is not the easiest straightforward thing like this, or like the influence chose with the simple example, the clear example. So what this card is we can wait. If the influencers are cherry picking, and I don't mean that in a derogatory sense, I just mean that we can do the same thing. We can cherry pick ourselves. So for example, they have picked this 15-minute with a beautiful imbalance, and this is well into the OTE and past the OTE. So that's the 15-minute. So here he's waiting for the 15-minute to hit the OTE. And so he's saying that he does not have to enter there without waiting for the 5-minute confirmation. So he'll go to the 5-minute now. So now we're on the 5-minute and we're watching for price to do some form of reversal. And this is a perfect A+ setup. So now 5-minute has gone up into the OTE and even past it and wicked back into it. And we're about to have a choke or market shift of structure. So right here, now we have the choke, or what he calls the market shift of structure, same thing. And he says that this is a breaker block. And he puts an entry order. So there he's drawn out the market shift of structure and the breaker block right there with this candle right there. And now he's placed his entry order right there near the breaker block. So you see what happened? It came up into, it actually, the way he's drawn this, he actually did not get tagged in.
Stop taking a trade from a point of interest without.
Just a kind of a interesting point. It's not really the most important thing, but in his example, he actually did not get tagged in. Just something I've noticed, because he waited for the market shift, and then he waited for the green candle to come back into the breaker block, but that actually did not tag. But that's just the nuance. But the main point remains the same. Right, so you see, as a minor point, but his main point is still the same, that we have this market shift of structure on the 5-minute after looking at the 15-minute coming back into OTE and imbalance and then reacting. So this is the pink imbalance area, and it's a water block, and you wait for this reversal on the 5-minute, and here's apparently a breaker block, this little dark blue area square right here, and he did not get tagged in, but the idea is that he would try to get tagged in here and make this trade here after the reversal. And the point is that this is a very clean or a very obvious A+ setup, kind of like this one with the 15-minute coming back in, whether it's a turtle soup, whether it's an order block, whether it's a FEG in the OTE. We look for the lower time frame to make this choke or market shift of structure, and then it comes back into this order block or breaker block or FEG, and we put our entry order here and we go and trade this leg. That's the point here. So now in that light, what makes our setup here not A plus is that we don't have this easy entry, because this move came down so violently that the change of market shift of change would be over here, and so that's way too big. And the 15 did hit a order block, but this order block is in the middle of this upswing. So really this order block is the one that pushed up and broke structure with this bearish candle right in the middle of it. Whether that's a order block or not, maybe it was, especially if you look at the 5 minute. On the 5 minute, it would have been a order block with this green candle closing lower, having been lower than this red candle. So that's why the green color is the order block here on the 5 minute. But again, we don't have a nice reversal like this 1 minute here. This 1 minute is not A plus. For this to be A plus, it would have to look more like this. So, that's the pieces that's missing to make this not an A plus setup in terms of ease of entry. This would have been very dicey to, it wouldn't have been easy because so violently came down, and then it wasn't the clearest reversal with imbalances that tapped into, that came back and got tapped, and also the symmetry is a little something. It almost hit the 62, but you'll remember the whole setup here came from me thinking that this was the beginning of a downtrend. And that's why we made this 3-part video saying that actually the 15 minute is an uptrend and we were in a 2-step reversal. So with all of that, I'm just saying it wouldn't have been easy to then recognize that this was a 2-step, the end of a 2-step that dipped into the order block on the 5 minute and the 15 minute. And then this is the first leg of the continuation of the 15 minute uptrend. And then we made a symmetry retracement off of this leg, which we had called MM1, and then CR1 being this corrective CR1 symmetry. And then we'd have to put an entry order here. So I'm telling you, this is not A plus because this entry model was not easy. And we end Friday, as we said up here. So no, this is not A plus, and we know why it's not A plus. It did move in the right direction. We are able to put together the narrative, but a few pieces missing made it not an A plus. That's the whole point. And this is the 15-second. We also did not have too much easy reversals that we could hung our hat on. So very informative 3-part series. And to sum up, we saw what an A plus setup is, and now we know what makes this setup missing pieces such that it wasn't A plus, even though the narrative makes complete sense, especially in retrospect. The 2-step correction on a 15-minute uptrend. But we can use our crew resource management and our judgment to only pick out A plus setups such that the judgment comes in before anything else, before we're in the air, and we can filter out and lighten our crew resource load. Because in the cockpit, we talk about resource load. And then we can, by only picking the A plus setups and knowing when we need more things to make something A plus, we're preemptively addressing the threat and error management framework, we're reducing threats and errors before they even come up. Because the easier we can pre-select for just the perfect setup, that's easy in terms of cognitive load, then we actually are exercising good judgment and already lightening the crew resource load and lowering the amount we have to use threat and error management. This isn't just about solving problems after they come up. In only selecting things that move along like this, every step of the way, we are preemptively lowering the threat and error load, and we're making things so much easier to manage. So the whole idea that they're cherry picking is actually good.